Hello everyone and welcome to this video, which is in our Great Engine MiddleGames series. I'm Grandmaster Matthew Sadler and we are taking a look at some games between Leela Zero and chess.com's new engine Torch from the CCC21 Blitz Challenger match, 3 minutes plus 2 seconds. That was a match that Torch narrowly won, giving it the right to face the mighty Stockfish in the final. It was a really fantastic match, loads of fantastic games. As always with these chess.com matches, I mean, 500 games are played. I always have the feeling that I'm sort of not really doing it justice because I just can't look through all the games. But well, I've made a little selection and I hope you're going to enjoy it. This was a very interesting game, really complicated middle game. It was an English opening where white got a nice space advantage, early d4 to d5. But black Torch had done pretty well here, really. You know, getting the kingside pawns moving and also getting rid of white's dark squared bishop. But in this position, Leela went for knight a4, and yeah, this is really, really putting the position right on the edge because white's threatening to go knight takes c5, and after knight c5, well, two things happen. First of all, white can play the knight to e6, and secondly, the rook can be played to b7. So yeah, I mean, things are really going to happen for white once he gets the knight onto c5. By the way, just as a little aside, white can't play knight e6 immediately because of rook e6. And if you try and be super clever with check and e7, which at first sight doesn't look too bad, then unfortunately black's got queen c1 and queen f4 check, and then queen takes b8, and everything's covered. So that's a little bit sad. After knight a4, Torch decided to go for it and played the move e3. Well, f takes e3, and now a very confusing move. Needed a little bit of time to understand that. Torch played the move queen d8. There is a move that seems obvious, and that is to play rook takes e3. Well, obvious, but it's a pretty common tactic there, because after queen e3, we go bishop d4. However, white has got this move, rook b8, and then knight e6. And even worse, after queen takes e6 check, you have to, because otherwise knight d4 just happens. We don't even take back here, which would also win. We just go queen takes d4 and then d takes e6 afterwards. So what black needs to do, black needs to cover that back rank, and this is what queen d8 does. Queen d8 hits the knight on g5, covers the back rank, and then is going to come along with rook takes e3. Now, white's got a couple of choices here. Knight e6 again just allows rook takes e6. Knight f3 is sort of interesting, just stopping bishop d4, and so stopping this idea of rook takes e3. But black can just play bishop h6, hitting the pawn on e3. That forces the rook back. And then we do something like queen d6, and well, okay, white's a pawn up there, but black's coming in with knight g3 to e4, maybe even f4 at some stage. Plenty of compensation there. Black doesn't feel that that pawn minus. So what Leela played was the move h4, and this is really clever because the idea is that you might think, well, okay, chase that knight away and then we carry on with our lives. But if you include h4 and h6 after knight f3, there's no bishop h6. So this position is actually pretty nice for white. There's no rook takes e3 because the knight covers d4, and there's no bishop h6 because you've played this move h7 to h6. So now it's time for black to really go for it, and this is rook takes e3. And after queen e3, we would have bishop d4 there. But white plays rather knight takes c5, and this is actually a serious move. I mean, we've got all these threats that we mentioned before, but also we've removed black's control of d4. There's no pawn on c5 protecting it, so queen e3 is threatened. So what are you going to do with that rook? I mean, how can you keep the attacking momentum up? Because your rook's attacked. You've got white knights coming into e6. Seems difficult, but this is the move that Torch had spotted. It is rook e2. Oh, rook e2. Look at that one. What's the point? Well, the point is that queen takes e2 is met by bishop d4 check, and there's no safe place for the queen, for the king or the queen, in actual fact. King h2, I just go queen d6 check. King h1, I've got knight g3, followed by knight e2, and funnily enough, after bishop d4. If you go king f1, I go knight g3 as well. Well, I mean, this is still quite unclear. The engine's managed to find a draw for white here, but yeah, I mean, this is obviously not really what white should be aiming for. So rook e2 is an enormously powerful move there. But Leela played the move queen d1, and yeah, it's just sort of hanging on to that rook and preparing to do nasty stuff. Knight e6, rook b7, d6 to d7. So yeah, I mean, black's still got to keep on going because white's got plenty of trumps here, and you know, it's not going to be easy for black to make something of this. The back rank in particular is very weak. You know, the black queen would love to start getting involved in a kingside attack, but it's not going to be able to because the back rank is so weak. So knight f4 was played by Torch, and it's also Stockfish's main choice as well. G3 from white. I had a look at a few different ideas, but none of them really worked here. So G3 looks the best. I mean, this knight was attacking G2, so we're attacking the knight, and the rook on E2 is loose. Rook G2 check. King h1 played, and now rook takes g3. Well, it's obviously getting pretty thrilling here, but we've still got some cover of the king side, and we just need to get our pieces organised to for white to be able to get at the black king. And queen e1 is quite unpleasant here, hitting the rook on g3, also aiming for queen e6, knight e6 now. So definitely some danger in there. Now, there's a couple of moves here. Even rook takes a3 with the threat of rook a1. Actually, just to try and force white to exchange off rooks with rook b1 was decent for black. But Torch kept on attacking. That's what we like. Rook g4. So eyeing this pawn on h4. Now, the knight comes into e6. Not strange enough the only move. I think that Stockfish and Dragon were quite keen on playing knight f3, just trying to hold stuff together. But Leela's knight e6 is the move you want to play. I mean, you just want to try and get rid of this knight and then start coming into e6 and just let these pawns roll. I mean, it looks really dangerous. Queen e8 played, just sort of halting that that white attack just by pinning the knight to the queen. So knight takes f4 doesn't work, of course, because of queen takes e1 here. But now rook b7 played. The rook invades, and we're starting to create threats now against the black king. So rook takes g7 is threatened. And yeah, this is the big question, really. I mean, you know, how does black keep his attack going? Because you know, now that the 7th rank is open, I mean, we've got ideas like knight f7, knight h7, and well, there's also d6 and d7 coming in. I mean, there are a lot of threats here. But Torch found another stunning move here: bishop d4. So basically, well, we're keeping this queen sort of a little bit timid here by eyeing g1. So rook g1 check is a possible threat. We're still keeping this pin on the knight on e6, so the d4 knight isn't hanging. Yeah, I mean, there's still there's plenty of threats around there. But white plays the move knight f7, and this is a nasty one because white's threatening knight h6 takes g4 here. And black's big problem here is that, well, you know, there's rook g1 would be what you'd expect, but after queen g1, bishop g1, white's got the lovely idea here: knight h6 check, king h8, and then knight g5. And, well, you're going to have to deal with this threat of rook takes h7 checkmate, which is a bit of a toughie to deal with. So that is absolutely gorgeous. But now a move, yeah, I mean, you're totally out of, you know, of human achievable range here. It's just too confusing here. Knight d3 was played by Torch, and this is a lovely move. Actually, what you're doing is you're attacking this queen, which is defending the pawn on h4. So once this guy moves away, then black's going to have ideas like rook h4 check, rook g4, quite apart from ideas like knight f2 check as well. So queen e2 played, and now knight f2 check. This is perfectly fine. Yeah, I mean, rook h4 is also, king g2, queen a8 is also just about holding for black as well. But it looks a little bit weird to play that. I like Torch's move much more, which is knight f2 check, king h2, and rook takes h4. King g3, rook g4, king h2, rook h4. Now, Leela could take a draw by repetition, but Leela plays the move king g2, and you're sort of looking to try and escape away from the rook. But what happens? The move knight g4. And with knight g4, it's quite nice. I mean, this knight is actually covering the h6 square, so you're stopping this knight h6 check threat. And you're just threatening rook h2 takes e2 here. What can you do here? Well, there's a couple of moves. I mean, I was wondering about king g3, but after rook h2 takes, well, we can go knight h6 check, and knight f7 check will be a draw by repetition. That's one idea. Leela played the move queen d3, but after rook h2, king there, rook h1 check, king e2, rook h2. Well, Leela can't move across to here because knight f2 check will pick up the queen. So Leela went back to f1, and we got check and check. And that was basically it. A draw by perpetual was agreed. Yeah, this is a first little taster of games from this match, and well, I mean, I think you can see that yeah, you know, both these engines playing in an extremely active style, and yeah, you know, these tactics are simply incredible. I mean, I like playing through these games and also spotlighting them. I mean, if you just look at the evaluations, you know, probably from move 33 onwards, the engines are saying 0.00. You could think, you know, boring, draw, but in actual fact, I mean, you know, this sort of chess is absolutely thrilling, and I do find, you know, that sort of looking at the tactics, explaining, you know, the simple points at least to myself, and a few of the complicated ones, I do find that that's, you know, just very helpful for my own tactical play. So yeah, I hope it's useful to you too as well. But anyway, I hope you like this little interruption of our Reengineering the Chess Classic series. I'm going to be alternating a little bit, looking at some wonderful Leela-Torch games, and also doing a few more wonderful Schlechter games as well. So do keep tuned for that. And well, you know, thanks very much for watching, and hope to see you at the next video. Thanks for watching.